former president of MS Club's SLIIT, to share the experiences he gained from the ITP module. The spotlight is on you now, Lasalaya.
Thank you, Nagi. So I was tasked with talking about how ITP worked in providing the platforms for us to ricochet to the industry, right? So in my perspective, the technology field that we're currently being practicing in is changing ever now. So companies are looking for creative people more than ever because technicality is done by a machine right now. So for an example, when you talk about ChatGPT 4.0, 3.5 turbo, a lot of the code segments that you created by hand a couple of years ago can be automated within a couple of seconds. So more than ever, companies are looking for creative people, open-minded people who has the technical stuff because the machine alone cannot do it. That has the particular foundation knowledge and who are very creative, right? I'll talk how the ITB project inspired us as students to learn to have that curiosity to learn those particular skill sets that helped us to come to the industry. So with that in mind, I'll introduce myself. I'm Lasal Hettiarachchi, software engineer at Cogent International R&D team, mostly specifying in generative technologies. I'm a graduate from SLIIT, specializing in software engineering. I'm currently an undergraduate at University of Colombo in computer mathematics. So in my perspective, in your career at SLIIT, there are two most important projects. One is the research project, and the second one is ITP. So if I talk about why, because after this particular project, you might be going into the industry to work as an intern or maybe as an associate position or something. So this is the foundation to show your skill sets. So you learned a particular technology. So you learned Java, you learned other C languages, C++. You have that basic knowledge of object-oriented programming, and this is a platform where you can showcase your ability to learn because the university doesn't have the capability of providing everything, right? You have to learn on your own, you have to learn and explore on your own. So industry expects that from you all as well. So this is an opportunity to showcase that showcase the world that you have that talent and you are willing to do it, right? So you might have done many projects. You might have done projects in Java. You might have done in HTML, C++, PHP, and all that. So most of them work. I mean, the project for OOP was in my, if I'm correct. So that was a server-side rendering project, right? So the industry has changed in some aspects, and there are other aspects as well. So there's what you call the REST API aspects. There's GraphQL, and there are other aspects as well. So this is a platform where you can get exposed to these particular technologies. So you might have learned a lot of languages, right? You might be exposed to different domains in aspects. So functional programming, object oriented programming, so you might have been exposed to those particular concepts in your first 2 years, right? So now you have a task of implementing either a client grade project or a solution for a real world project, which might require you to push yourselves and learn something new, right? Sometimes you might be needing frameworks, so you might wonder what is a framework, right? So frameworks are a particular set of tools that you can use to build fully fledged framework, fully fledged front end, back end softwares. So for an example, Spring Boot is a Java based framework which you can use to create back end frameworks. So there's Node.js. So there's .NET. So there's .NET and there's not .NET Core. So if I talk about .NET, so the .NET is platform specific for Microsoft, but .NET Core you can run it on a Mac, you can run it on Linux, and you can develop on anything, right? So the industry expects you to have this particular knowledge, whether it's a functional language, whether it's a object oriented language, whether it's platform specifics. So so when you are I mean, exploring those particular domains, try to figure out a particular problem set that you are trying to solve, right? Be innovative, go out there, explore what is out there, see what other people have done, see what they have found solutions to, and try to innovate on top of them. Don't do the exact same thing that they have done. Try to innovate on top of them. So when you are being creative, when you have that particular thrive that you require, you might be needing a set of skills, right? Don't after this particular set of sessions, don't go out there and learn Node.js or Spring Boot or so on, right? Try to figure out a problem that you're trying to solve and use those particular technologies to assist you in solving that particular problem, right? Sometimes Spring Boot might help you more in that particular area than .NET. Sometimes Node.js might help you in handling document-based software better than other particular languages. Sometimes you might be integrating AI parts, right? So in that case, JavaScript or Python-based frameworks might be helping you more. So I mean, see how the water is going and try to assist and learn those particular skill sets to assist you in these particular problems, right? So if I talk about the frameworks that are currently popular, right? So C# is one of the most trending languages right now that the industry is looking for. Other one is Python based frameworks such as Fast API and Django Flask. So these particular technologies, the industry is trending. Spring Boot. Other than that, so front end frameworks, if I talk about front end frameworks, React, Angular, so those are particularly popular in the industry right now. And sometimes server side rendering frameworks, Next.js, Nuxt.js. So those languages are out there, and I'll talk about how to explore them and how to particularly learn them in my future slides. But those set of knowledge bases are out there, so you just have to have that thrive to go and uh, learn them. So if I talk about mobile based frameworks, so there's Flutter, there's React Native. So if you are willing to implement what you call I don't know whether this one applies for your semesters, or in our days we were allowed to create desktop applications as well. So you could use a particular JavaScript based frameworks such as Electron.js, or there's Java frameworks to create what you call desktop app as well. So first of all, understand that language is a tool that will help you to achieve something. It's not the problem itself. So try to define the problem first, and learn those particular skill sets around that which might help you to solve that particular problem. So that is one approach that I take in my day-to-day life, right? So talking about databases, so you might be familiar with SQL based databases, right? So MySQL, PostgreSQL, so there's a lot of SQL based databases, right? So there's other domains that are out there as well. So there's NoSQL databases, there's vector databases, graph databases, key value databases. So as I was mentioning earlier as well, so understand your problem itself. So document did so in previously in 30 40 years back, memory was expensive, right? Sometimes uh, storing a couple of megabytes cost several $100s, right? But right now, as computing advances, so memory has gotten cheaper, computational power has gotten cheaper, and and there's no necessity to have a proper structure. I mean, not exactly, but sometimes there might be specific use cases where you need that particular schema, where SQL database. So NoSQL databases came into account where you don't process them, have joins and have several tables to store data. Rather, we have documents, right? We store documents for a specific set of documents which contains specific set of data, and we store it in the database without pre-processing. So we don't need joins to have queries in multiple phase. So vector databases has gotten popular current in recent days because of how large language models such as GPT works, where you create tokens and vector embeddings, and where you store them in vector databases. So they have gotten popular. Also, graph databases for recommendation engines and all that. So that has gotten popular. So as I was mentioning earlier, understand your problem and use these particular technologies that are out there to solve that problem. So key value databases such as Redis is out there. So you might, so just a Google search will help you, or maybe ChatGPT as they are calling recently. So might help you to identify those particular domains that you could explore, right? So yeah, moving on. So the previous speaker also talked about this as well. So think beyond CRUD, right? So everyone, when you are graduating from the university, has that BSc information technology specializing in something in their hand, right? So so you need something more to show the company that you are that correct person that they should hire, right? So these are set of skills that you might need to develop to show them that to stand out from the rest. So one thing is coding standards. When you're coding something, have proper standards, have proper formatting. So one thing that we practice in MS Club is uh, reviewing each and every pull request that our members do in the development branches. So we review them one by one, and we help them to develop their particular coding standards as well. So you when there's so and also coding standards are specific for uh, language specific as well. So the approach that we're taking for one language might not be the exact approach that we would take for another. So when you're coding this project, utilize read articles, use something like Sonalint and all that to understand how to write proper code. So that's one thing. The second thing is version controlling. So in your previous projects, you might have zip the file when you need to integrate your project at the end of the semester. You might zip the file and send it to the person, and they would take care of the rest, right? But that is not the standard that's properly happening, because in the industry we are dealing with millions of lines of code, and if you do the zip file and send it to it, that would be like a headache to integrate that particular code, right? And we need those proper versioning systems to uh, have incremental development. So the previous speaker talked about the sprint approach. So one of the major aspects of sprint based development is incremental development. So version controlling is necessary for uh, when you're going into the industry. So use something like Git or GitHub, where you could have those and have your Git-based repositories hosted, and understand the concepts of Git, how a pull request work, how a merge, how you pull a project from the remote repositories, how you resolve a merge conflict, how you commit a message, commit a proper set of code. So how you write proper commit messages, how you properly structure them into branches. So learn those aspects, and you utilize ITP as a platform where you could explore and go out there, because after coming into the industry, you don't have the time to read articles about how to do version controlling, how to do proper branching structures. You don't have that time. When you come to the industry, they expect you that you have already have those particular skill sets and have the ability to uh, work in those fast-paced cultures that they're dealing with, right? So use this as a platform to develop your particular skill sets. So other thing is project planning. So some of you might not be going into development. Some of you might be going into the BA side. Some of you might be going into what you call QS, software QS, quality assurance, QEs. So this is a this is an opportunity where you could get to explore what is out there, and there's a set of documents that are needed to prepare, which will help you to develop those skill sets that are required for the industry. So also teamwork. So you might be arriving at different problems when you're dealing with this project. So you might be needing to work together. You might be having to learn those proper etiquettes when you're dealing with a team. Always schedule calls, always be formal with your teammates, help your teammates out when it's necessary. So not only the what you call the theoretical aspects, but also develop your interpersonal skills as well. So that is also required when you're coming into the industry. Also, there's modules for data structures and algorithms as well in your third year, but use this to explore what is out there. So you might have learned collection-based frameworks in your OOP projects, right? Array lists, arrays, stacks, and all that. So those are the fundamentals. So you can gather those. You can incrementally learn the other concepts and develop those particular skill sets as well. So yeah, moving on. So another thing is integration with third-party APIs. So don't just resort to the CRUD operations and testing and all that alone. So you of course need to implement those particular uh, things that are required for the evaluation process as well. But don't stop there, right? As I mentioned earlier, you might need to stand out from the crowd because thousands of IT graduates are coming out of the university system each and every year, right? So you might need to stand out from the rest of the people for a company to hire you, right? So so there's a lot of things that you can do. There's Google API services, there's cloud cognitive services. So Azure generously offers a lot of cognitive services. So there's things like cloud functions, Lambda functions, where you could write a small code snippet that you could implement in the cloud. So you don't have to write entire backends and deploy and do those stuff. You could write a small function based on the cloud. So explore cloud services. There's Azure, there's Google Cloud Providing Service, there's AWS, there's Oracle, OCI, and so on, right? There's a lot of cloud providers out there. Explore what they have to offer. They might be offering hosting services. They might be offering cognitive services, right? So Azure recently announced that they are offering open AI services as well. So things like so so when talking to GPT-based models, things like that are easier than ever right now, right? So so also identity access management technologies and API contracts. So there's JWT, there's oaths, right? Things like that. So you could implement these uh, in your ITP projects, which might help you to stand out from the rest of the groups to get that higher grade, and also to when you are going into the internships, you can say, other than doing CRUD operations with this language, I have done this. I have gone beyond, and uh, I have explored these particular domains. I have good sound knowledge in this particular cloud vendor. I have explored their technologies. So all of this knowledge is out there freely for you to gain, right? So Azure provides a platform called Microsoft Learn, right? Google Cloud has their own documentation. AWS has their own documentation, right? All of this is out there to learn. You just have to have that curiosity and the drive to learn these particular things, right? So also deployment. Just don't show your in product in your local host, right? So try to deploy it to cloud vendor. So there's AWS, there's Azure, there's GCP. All of them provides a free tier which you could utilize, right? So there's Heroku, I believe, is not providing the free tier from recently, but Vercel, there's a free tier. There's Netlify, there's a free tier. In Firebase, there's a free tier. Always utilize those particular things things which you could show to stand out. Because when you're going to the what you call interview after doing this ITP project for your internships or other job opportunities, you cannot show it in your local host, right? So if you have these particular things deployed into a cloud, you could send them just your URL. They might be impressed with your skills, right? Right. So project management skills and professional skills as well. So do the documentation, do the testing, write the test cases. So sometimes you might be able to do something like a test-driven development. So always write the test cases, unit testing, how much of your code base is covered by testing. So test coverages. So gain those particular skill sets which might be important, right? And project management. So where to look for these things, right? So I mentioned about OpenAI services. I talked about Azure services. So where can we look for these things, right? So don't always resort to YouTube. So one of the uh, major downfalls of the first new people who are coming to the new to the industries, they are always resorting to uh, YouTube or Udemy course or something like that. But in my perspective, that is an interpretation of someone else, right? Someone else is teaching you their perspective on that particular technology. But if you resort to the official documentation, those are written by the developers themselves, right? So which might mean that you have that particular insight and into how those particular developers intend you to use those particular technologies, right? So I'll do a small demo and as well after this. Also you can utilize GitHub. So GitHub, as I mentioned earlier, is a uh, uh, online repository, uh, online Git repository. So where you could post your Git repositories, where you could see the code that other people have wrote, right? So you can utilize that, but don't take entire code bases, do a Git clone, and there's memes out there about threads copying, threads cloning Twitter, right? But those are just I mean sometimes they might be conspiracy, so but don't just do the git clone and don't change anything and do it. Try to understand what that particular developer is trying to do and try to integrate that into your projects. Also you use YouTube channels as well, because sometimes visual learning might help you to understand and grasp those concepts more. So there's Udemy courses, there's Coursera courses, and there's LinkedIn courses as well. So there's a lot of things where, lot of places where you could gather those knowledge. You just have to have that curiosity, right? So before I wind up the session, I'll show you where to look for this, right? So this is this. Uh, so I'll go to Microsoft. Apologies about my internet because I'm using. So there's a so Microsoft in Microsoft Learn, when you go to documentation, uh, there's all of these things where they have the services that they are providing. So for an example, if I go to um, OpenAI documentation, right? So there's OpenAI tools, OpenAI, Microsoft.net. So also, so for an example, if you want GPT based services that you want to integrate, so there's show Open AI. Sure. So you might need to request permission for this. They aren't providing it for everyone. So if you apply from here and fill out there's a form that is coming. If you fill out those forms, you might be integrated. You might be able to integrate this technologies to your projects as well. Okay, also, you can use the OpenAI APIs as well, right? You might not be familiar with what an API is. It's like a method of communication, communication protocol where you could resort to I'm sorry. So there's just REST APIs where you could pass in a set of parameters and you could receive JSON outputs. So you could resort to that. So I'll do a small demo where I utilize the OpenAI playground, but you could do this in what you call using the APIs as well. So let's go to OpenAI. Uh, so there's OpenAI playground. Right. So this is the playground. So there's API references as well. You can utilize them. So this provides an high-level idea of, on how to you particularly implement those particular technologies, right? So you can install. So they I think I believe provide libraries for JavaScript and Python currently. So they might uh, and several other uh, what you call dependencies written by public as well, but OpenAI provides libraries for Python and JavaScript, and they give you small intuition as to how to implement those in your code, right? So for an example, the chat model I'll be using in the future, so they provide, so if you go to list of models, retrieve chat here. So they provide what you need. So this is the API and content type. So you might have to change the authorization token that you get from your account. So and they provide the intuition on as to how to uh, talk to these particular services, right? So I'll do a small demo where you can utilize uh, OpenAI services, right? Uh, so this is something called prompt engineering where you there's a large language model called GPT 3.5, right? So you tell the model how to behave and you give a query and ask it to do a particular thing. So this is called zero shot learning. So you don't need to understand these particular things. So I'm showing you what is possible with using those things, right? So I'll do a small prompt. So this system prompt is something where you tell the model how to behave, right? So I'll do summarize the text below to bullet points. I'll say and return it as JSON. So and I'll take a small text from somewhere. I'll take this text. Right. So when you do it like that, the model itself has the capability of doing what I ask for, and it summarizes the text that I got and do it as a bullet point, and it returns as a JSON file, right? Most important points, and it returns it as a JSON response. So which you could utilize. So you could integrate summarization services. You could integrate like a chatbot service to your ITP guide. So these things are these APIs provide you the capability of uh, doing that, right? You don't have to have that thorough understanding of these particular technologies, but you can of course use third-party APIs and integrate those functionalities to your projects as well, right? So that's what I was trying to explain, right? Always go to the documentation. Always go to try to find where those documentations are. So for an example, there's React. If you want to learn React, go to the React documentation, right? They have nicely so this is the getting started one, but this that was the legacy one. So these documentations show you how to install, start a new project, and they go in depth into the functionalities that are capable using React, right? So always try to resort to the documentation and not just YouTube videos when you are implementing the what you call the project, right? With that I believe I have come to the end of my session. Yeah, and thank you.